I'm gonna be brutally honest, July was one of my worst trading months in a very long time. I lost my conviction, I was second guessing every single setup, and while I knew my edge, I wasn't trusting it, and because of that, it was destroying my results. Then this past Thursday, I had a moment that literally changed everything for me. I had an intervention with myself where I took a step back, I reviewed my trades, I reviewed my mistakes, and I figured out what was going on in my trading. I wasn't trading with any confidence. I somehow lost it, and it was my job to now get it back. As soon as I realized this, literally the next day, I had one of my best trading days in a long time. I made a little bit over $8,500. I completely bounced back, and in this video, I'm going to explain how I was able to rebuild my confidence step by step, and how you can build confidence, whether you're a beginner trader or whether you're a trader who feels like everything is falling apart. Confidence is a superpower in your trading, and without it, you're never going to reach your true potential. In this video, I'm going to fix that, so make sure you watch until the end of the video, and let's hop right into it. So I'm going to be real with you guys, and I'm going to explain the last couple months of my trading. So in June, I actually went on vacation. So June tends to be a really slow month for my style of trading. So I went to Barcelona, I went to Portugal, I went to Amsterdam, and I went to London. And honestly, I was still trading like 2 to 3 days per week for a couple of hours per day, but the environment was slow, and I was honestly on vacation mode. I was there to just have a good time, and I wasn't really focused on trading. So inevitably June was a bit of a slow month for me, obviously, just because I really wasn't trading. I still finished in the green, but it was slow. Next, I came back home and July hit, and I was excited to get back. I was excited to trade, and July also tends to be kind of a slow month for trading. It's like the dog days of summer. Every single year, my June and July end up being like my worst months out of the year. I never perform in June and July because of the environment, and there's just not as many opportunities. But I came back really excited to trade in July. I felt reset after my vacation. I was ready to just print. And all of a sudden July begins, and it's kind of a grind. And I'm still making money, but I'm just not really trading well. And I just didn't have any big days throughout July. And then the first week passes, then the second week passes, then the third week, and I'm just not really trading with any confidence. I don't feel like myself. And all of a sudden, as this progresses, I'm getting more and more frustrated. And I'm like, damn, I just can't find, I'm just not myself. I don't know if you guys ever felt like that, but I wasn't trading to my identity. It was obviously a bit of a slow environment, but all of a sudden I started getting frustrated. I started second guessing myself, and I lost conviction, and I literally lost my trader's confidence, and I didn't really know what to do about it. And I would notice that losses would kind of affect me, and they would make me frustrated, and that usually never happens. So that's when I knew that I had to do something. I had to figure out what was going on with me and how to fix it. And then literally this past week, I still made money Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but on Wednesday, I made about $1,500, and I was incredibly disappointed with my day because I just knew I should have had a much better day. I just traded poorly. My decision making was bad, and I second guessed myself on numerous trades, and Thursday should have been a $3,000 to $4,000 day. And I knew that. I knew I underperformed, and it really stung. And even though I made money, I have a passion for trading. I want to be the best version of myself at all times. And it affects me, right? I love what I do, and I want to be the best at what I do. And when I'm not performing to that level, it's you get stress about it, and it affects you psychologically and emotionally. And on Thursday, I was affected, and I literally got up and I said, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to understand what's going on in my trading, and I'm going to fix it today. And that's exactly what I did. By the way, for full transparency, I still made money in July. So from July 1st of 2025 to July 31st of 2025, I made $20,582, which is a 5.76% cumulative rate of return on my account, and you might be thinking, oh, well, you still made money, why are you upset about it? And it's like, this is underperforming for me. And the only reason I made money in July is because I am very good at risk management and capital preservation. July was a tough month, and literally every single day I was telling myself I might not have my full conviction and I'm not really trading that well. However, I'm not going to lose money. I'm going to shift towards a more capital preservation mindset. And because I did that, that's the reason why I made money in July. And obviously it wasn't as much as I was making earlier this year per month. However, I wasn't feeling myself. I had to turn on that capital preservation mode. And that is the importance of risk management and knowing how to limit your losses. You could literally still make money because you're preserving your capital and because you're so good at risk management. And that's the exact reason why I still had a profitable month in July, even though it was actually one of my worst months in a long time. So this past Thursday, I finished the day up around $1,500, and I am incredibly disappointed because I knew I could have traded significantly better. I did not perform to my capability, and I decided that enough is enough. I need to figure this out. At that point, I'd been frustrated for multiple weeks, and I canceled all of my plans that day, and I told myself, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out what is going wrong in my trading, and I reviewed all of my trades from the last few weeks, and I tried to kind of come to some conclusions, like, is it my management? Is it my entries? Am I getting into the wrong trades? Am I focusing on the wrong stocks? And I'm looking at all of my trades, and I actually went on a walk right after to kind of think this through. I love taking walks. It really kind of helps me almost like meditate, right? That's what walking does for me. It's like therapeutic. And I realized that my process has actually been really good. My management has been good. The trades that I'm looking at have been working. I'm focusing on the right stocks. But what I noticed was I wasn't trading with that confidence. I was like second guessing every single setup. Like I would see a good setup and I would hesitate instead of just get in because I liked the setup. And I was doubting myself almost. I was hesitating, and I'm looking at all of these trades that I'm missing out on, and it's like, wow, I don't even need to do anything different. I just have to take the trades that I like. I have to stop second guessing myself and just, trade with conviction. If I like it, get in. You're probably going to be right, and you're probably going to make some money. Don't hesitate. Don't think, oh, well, what if you're wrong? No, just if you like it, do it. And I realized that, man, it took me 5 years to develop the edge that I have today. 5 years of just blood, sweat, and tears, taking thousands of trades, and just, having that constant improvement process as a trader. I put a lot of work to get to the point where I am today. And I realized that I'm not even using the edge that I just built up over the last 5 years. Like I have this edge, but I'm not even capitalizing on my advantage. You know what I mean? I'm not even fully making money off what makes me such a good trader. And that's when I realized that I have this edge. I need to just trade with more confidence. I need to, and I said at the time, ape harder. If you see something you like, get in, because odds are your edge is right. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I realized that, literally the next day, August 1st, it was a brand new month. I wanted to start off the month on the right foot. First day after I did that, I made $8,593. And that was just like, wow. And I felt like a completely different trader. I'm literally, like, this was 2 days ago. I remember I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe I had that in me. And all I did differently was I trusted my edge and I acted with confidence. I didn't change anything about my entries or my management or anything technical or anything within my trading plan. All I did was literally trust myself and trade with my edge. I'm going to show you a couple of my trades that I took this past Friday that led to me having that $8,500 day. And my conclusion after Thursday's analysis of my trading was to just trust my intuition, trust my edge. you're oftentimes making the right decisions, but you need to act on those decisions. Don't hesitate. Don't doubt yourself. Just act. Don't think logically. Trust your edge and just trade. And that's exactly what I did. And one of the first setups that we caught was the Coney. This is the Coinbase ETF. So Coin has had a gap down this past Friday from 377 to 333, and this was gapping down with the market. I think this gapped down because of earnings. So going into Friday, the market gapped down and it started to sell off at the open. So that gave me a very clear bearish bias on the day. And the Coinbase also gapped down and started to sell off. So the Coney, which is kind of like a lower priced ETF of Coinbase, it also gapped down and it had room. It kind of gapped under this support and it had room to drop to this 200 period moving average, which was basically my target. But if you go to the 5-minute time frame, right off the open, we had a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4 setup. And if you're not familiar with the 1, 2, 3, 4, I highly recommend watching my free 10+ hour course. It is genuinely better than most paid courses on the internet. It'll build the foundation for your trading. And you could find that in the description of this video, and you can combine a lot of the value I share on my YouTube with my free 10+ hour course, combine it, and hopefully it can make you a way, way better trader. Now on the 5-minute, we have a drop, then we kind of have a consolidation. So what I did was I entered underneath this consolidation and I put my stop loss directly above, and I caught this move right here. And I also caught another move right here. It was basically a breakdown under the low of the day. This was also good timing with the market because the market started to break down. I actually got in right here. As soon as it started hitting the 20 period moving average, I sized in and I caught this move right here on like 15,000 shares. So this move made me like 1,600 right here. And this move made me, I think, like about 1,000, something like that. And then I also caught another move on it. I think it was either this drop or this drop. But this and this was basically my biggest trade on Coney. And this ended up totaling like a $4,000 profit by the end of the day, just kind of scalping it throughout the day and then taking these setups. And the other setup that I wanted to show you guys that's just honestly picture perfect almost was the WK. This was just such a beautiful gap. We have this kind of like consolidation at the lows. We have this very clear resistance area right here on the WK. And we started to break down the last few days. Like, check this out. We have 1, 2, 3 red bars in a row. This WK was triggering a breakdown on the higher time frames. It was triggering a weekly and daily breakdown, which is a very powerful setup. And what happened after that? Well, we gapped from 63, and the next day we opened at around 74.42, which is like a 16% overnight gap. We were gapping above this resistance area, and we were gapping above 3 red bars. Like, think about everyone who went short over these last 3 days. They're going to sleep the previous day on Thursday right here thinking, oh yeah, I'm making money. This is breaking down on the larger time frames. I'm going to ride this short down to like $50 or $40. And they're making money. They're feeling good because they're up on their position. And then all of a sudden it gaps up, and every single person who shorted it here is now under water and they're losing money. And then it starts to move up, starts to move up, starts to move up. And everyone who was in it short, now there's pressure on those short sellers to cover their positions. And when they cover their positions, well, they're buying their shares back, which leads to prices moving up. And then there are also professional traders like myself that capitalize knowing that, basically. But look at this 15-minute setup. So we have an amazing bullish gap on the daily time frame, beautiful gap. And look at this setup. Oh my God, just such a picture perfect breakout. We move up and we begin to consolidate into the rising 20 MA, picture perfect. Breakout over the base, stop loss directly above, and below, and we also have a bottoming tail. This is a failed breakdown. Basically, the sellers attempted to bring prices lower, and the buyers brought it right back up, and then we continued to base. Beautiful entry bar, beautiful bottoming tail on a base. The market sometimes speaks the loudest on its failure patterns. This attempted to break down and drop, and that attempt failed, and we continued to consolidate. Such a bullish signal. A failed breakdown, a breakdown that fails, is bullish. And I did this. This made me $1,000. And you could have even actually got in right here over this base. Stop loss below if you wanted a tighter entry. I actually got in right here with my original stop here. And then I added over this base right here. And yeah, I mean, this made me a little bit over, I think it was like $1,000 or so. I actually got out. I got out at 83.50. No, I got out, I'm sorry, 83 I got out. And 83, if you look at the daily chart, is the 200 period moving average. So that was my target. My target was the 200 period moving average on the daily, and actually surpassed target. Unbelievable setup. And I just had to show it. Just honestly, A+ setup, A+ gap, plus an A+ 15-minute breakout with a bottoming tail, with just such a clean consolidation. Picture perfect setup. Let's talk about how to build or rebuild your confidence as a trader. And I'm going to give a little bit more details on how I rebuilt my confidence over this past week. And what you need to focus on is your trading edge. That's exactly what I did. I rediscovered my edge and what has made me a profitable trader over the last 5 years. So if you're struggling right now yourself, you need to rediscover what made you profitable, rediscover what advantage you have in the markets and what your edge is. And you need to trust that edge. You need to trade with confidence based off that edge. But that kind of begs the question, how do you build your edge in the first place if you're a beginner? Like maybe you're so new that you're just trying to build that initial confidence. Well, step number one is to learn a core methodology and focus on building a strong foundation for your trading. And the way that I would think about this is, think about a skyscraper that's being built in New York City. All of the architects, the engineers, the project managers, the construction crew, they spend the most planning and the most amount of time building the foundation for the building. So let's say in 5 to 10 years, an earthquake hits or there's really strong winds, that building isn't going to fall down. And that's why they spend so much time on the foundation, because the foundation is everything. That's what guarantees the longevity of the building actually staying up. Same thing with trading. Your foundation is what's going to set you up for long-term success. And you need a core methodology. What does that mean? Like, think about basketball players. Think about like all these NBA stars. When they first started playing basketball, they all learned the same fundamentals. They all learned how to shoot, how to dribble, footwork, positioning on the court. They all learned how to pass, right? Those fundamentals are pretty much the same, right? Everyone learned the same fundamentals, but the way they applied those fundamentals, right, that's completely different depending on the player. Like LeBron James and Steph Curry probably learned the same basics, but now they apply those basics in a completely different way based on their own style, based on their own experience, based on their own kind of basketball personality and what makes them really good players. Well, that the same thing applies for you. Without that strong foundation and without the basics solidified, you're never going to become your own trader. You're never really going to make any long-term strides in your trading. So for this, I highly recommend watching my free 10+ hour course like I mentioned earlier. I would also watch some of my videos on my YouTube channel, but learn a core methodology, focus on the basics, focus on risk management, okay? Number 2, develop a trading plan based off that methodology. So within your trading plan, you should have all your setups, your entries that you're taking, where you're going to put your stop loss, where you're going to exit, how you're going to manage the trade, what are your rules in your trading, how are you going to stop yourself from FOMO, how are you going to manage your emotions. That all needs to be within a trading plan. And what I would do as a beginner is actually write down this trading plan. I actually have a video on my YouTube that's literally called Build a Trading Plan So Strong It's Impossible to Lose. I would watch that video for point number 2. Develop your trading plan. Number 3, execute on that plan and then journal your results. So you're a beginner, you just created a plan on what your setups are and how you're going to trade them. Great. Go ahead and take 50 to 100 trades and execute on that plan. Execute based off the criteria that you wrote and record your results. Think about like the scientific method. You probably learned that in school when you're conducting an experiment, right? You need a sample size that you're experimenting with, and that's the only way you could actually get good data, because you need a large enough sample size. Same thing with trading. You need a large sample size of trades to gather information about how effective your plan is and how well you're managing your trades and how you're performing. So take a bunch of trades and journal your results. When you're journaling, write down where you got in, write down where you got out, write down what your management was, write down or try to figure out where you're leaving money on the table, or figure out where you need to, on what setups you need to limit your losses more on, right? Figure out what setups are working for you, right? Maybe retracement patterns aren't really profitable for you, but breakouts are really profitable for you. From there, you would eliminate the amount of retracement patterns you take. This is where you need to journal and analyze. And that's basically step number 4, analyze your results. Figure out what's working and not working in your trading. And a lot of times in trading, you don't even need to add new stuff to your trading plan to become more profitable. You don't need to add more indicators or more strategies. Actually, you can become more profitable by subtracting things from your trading plan. If you can eliminate everything that's losing you money, as a result, you'll make more money because you're limiting your losses. And that's exactly what I do and what I'm really, really good at. I'm really good at eliminating my mistakes, and I'm good at limiting my losses, right? So you don't need to figure out new strategies and new concepts. Once you have your 50 to 100 trades, look back and figure out what you need to remove out of that plan. What are obvious mistakes that you're making, and eliminate those mistakes. That's honestly the best way to improve. Okay. Number 5, refine your trading plan. Based off your analysis just now, figure out what you need to fix, figure out what you need to eliminate, figure out what you need to do more of, figure out what setups you shouldn't be taking anymore. Figure out what management makes you more money. Are you taking profits at TP1, or are you waiting for TP2? Are you exiting 50% of your position at TP1? Are you raising your stop loss at any point of the trade? Are you adding to your positions? Are you going to be only taking a few trades per day? You need to figure out what's working with you and then refine it. Improve your trading plan, and then it goes back to step number 2. Once you've refined your plan, you do this again. You execute on that plan, you journal your results, then you analyze your results again, and then you refine it again. And it's iterations of doing this. And honestly, your first few trading plans are going to be awful. They're going to be so bad. The first few times you create a plan and execute on that plan, you're going to lose, right? You're not going to make money. You need a solid 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 iterations of this process and of you improving your plan to actually get to the point where you could see results. But most people quit during that process. Most people think that they're just going to step into the markets and immediately become profitable. They're not willing to put in this work, but you have to, okay? It's okay if your first few weeks, your first few months as a trader is bad. That's the point. It's supposed to be bad. Your plan in the beginning is supposed to suck. That's why you do it. You take a sample size of trades, you analyze your results, you refine, and you do iterations of that, right? So don't get discouraged during this beginning process. This is actually how you build confidence. Putting in the reps, going through struggles, that's what gives you confidence. That's what gives you conviction on your trades, right? And you have to find what works for you based on your personality and based on your style. Every trader is completely different and has their own unique personality and trading style. The same way that every basketball player in the NBA or every hockey player in the NHL or whatever sport, they all play completely differently, even though they all learned the same fundamentals and basics. They play differently because they have their own styles and personalities. You need to find your style and your personality, right? What works for me may not work for you. What works for another trader may not work for you. And that's exactly why I really hate when people just copy alerts on like Discord groups where there's someone who sends out a signal and they just copy that trade. It's not how it works. You need to figure out what type of trader are you? what resonates with your style, okay? Okay, so let's say you've already developed your edge as a trader, you're consistently profitable, you have a track record of success, and all of a sudden you kind of lose your confidence. You're frustrated and you don't know what to do. You lost your mojo and you're not performing to the level that you usually expect out of yourself, and just things are going wrong and you're confused and you have no idea how to fix it. Well, that's exactly what just happened to me over the past month. I know I'm a consistently profitable elite level trader. I haven't had a losing month in 5 years. I've had losing weeks, I've had losing days, but I haven't had a losing month. I know I'm as consistent as they come. And I still lost my confidence last month. And I know if it's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to every trader out there. It even happens to the best athletes in the world. Like, think about Michael Jordan. He had off nights. He had periods of like a couple of months where he just wasn't performing that well. It happens to every athlete where you're just not on your game. And the goal of this video is to help you get back on your game and help you regain confidence. And the first thing that you need to do is be honest with yourself. And I want you to almost pretend that you hired yourself as your own trading consultant. Do what I did. Go back, review all of your trades, and spend like 2 to 3 to 4 hours and have an honest dialogue with yourself. Don't get frustrated. Just be like, okay, I have a problem. Problem at the top. Okay? What do I need to do to get back on my game? Well, number one, let me figure out what I'm doing wrong. Let me figure out what's actually stopping me from making money in trading. Is it my emotions? Is it my strategy? Am I forcing setups? Am I second guessing my entries? Is my management bad? You have to pinpoint what the issue is within your trading, and you have to be honest with yourself. Forget about your ego. Put your ego aside and tell yourself, right now, I'm not performing at the level that I should be. And that's what I did. Literally 2 days ago, I literally looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, bro, you are trading like shit. And you need to figure this out right now. This is not the level you should be trading at. So let's figure it out. And I was literally like pep talking myself. And I figured out that for me, it was the fact that I wasn't trusting my edge. But for you, it could be a completely different reason. You need to figure out what that reason is and be honest with yourself. Literally be objective. Pretend like you hired your own trading consultant, but that's literally you, okay? And by doing that, you have to take a deep dive into your trading. Like I just mentioned, we already talked about journaling and recording your trades and refining your process, right? Maybe you need a trading notebook. Use like TradeZella. There's a lot of notebooks out there. You can connect to your broker and it'll record your results. And you need to psychologically evaluate yourself. Maybe everything in your trading is actually going really well, but you're just like too emotional. And maybe you're just like psychologically shooting yourself, you know what I mean? You're psychologically hurting yourself where your mind is the problem. It's not even your trading, it's your mind. So you have to figure it out. What is going on in your trading? And you need to fix that like we just talked about, okay? Number 3, you need to be okay with change. If something isn't working, you need to stop forcing it. And this is, remember when I said that the best way to sometimes improve is to eliminate mistakes? You need to figure out what your mistakes are, and you have to be okay with adapting. One of the biggest reasons I think a lot of traders fail in the long term, I think the stats like over 5 years, 99% of traders fail. It's because they fail to adapt with the markets. The markets are constantly evolving and changing, and strategies that might work today might not work tomorrow. And strategies that worked 2 years ago probably aren't working today. You need to constantly adapt and evolve within your trading. That's very, very important. You have to be okay with adapting. And the only way to adapt and figure out what's working now is through journaling and through being very, very reflective with your trades. So if there's a strategy that worked for you, let's say like a month ago, and it's not, or let's say 5 months ago, a little bit more time, and it's not working today, and you're getting frustrated on why it's not working, stop doing it. Adapt. Figure out what is working in the markets. Okay? Number 4, lower your risk and focus on consistency. That's what I did. I lowered my risk. I went on full capital preservation mode, and that's the reason I had a 20K month in July, when July was like one of my worst months of the year. Literally one of my worst months. Did not feel good, traded poorly, still made 20K. Why? because I was on capital preservation mode. I lowered my risk and I focused on consistency. Okay, very, very important. Sometimes the best way to rebuild confidence is to lower your risk, take trades, start making money again on small risk, and then raise your risk back to what it normally is after your confidence is built. I actually have a video, the golden rule, on this YouTube channel. My golden rule saved me from losing X amount of money. Watch that video on my channel. And there's another video recently that really talks about lowering your risk and how the cycles, your psychological cycles that traders kind of operate in, especially when they're getting frustrated. So this is what I would do. Regain confidence. You have to lower your risk, focus on consistency, eliminate the clear mistakes in your trading, be okay with adapting to the markets, and be reflective. Take a deep dive in your trading and figure out what's going wrong. Figure out what's going right and eliminate all of the mistakes that you're making. Okay, guys, hopefully this helps. And it helped me. This is exactly what I did. I took a deep dive in my own trading this past Thursday. I figured out exactly what I was doing wrong, and from there I acted on it, and I focused on what I was doing wrong. And in my case, I wasn't trusting myself. I wasn't trading with conviction. I wasn't trusting my own edge. And as soon as I said, you know what, I'm going to trade based off my intuition. I'm going to go in the markets and just trade. I'm not going to think too much. I'm just going to act. And as soon as I did that, I had an $8,500 day, and it was just a fantastic start to the month in August, and hopefully the rest of August is also excellent. So hopefully this really helps your journey as a trader. Hopefully it helps you build or rebuild your confidence. Make sure you watch my other YouTube videos. Make sure you like the channel or like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and make sure you check out my free 10+ hour course. I also do live trainings on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern every other week or every third week. So I highly recommend attending those, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you very much for watching.